Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. We did a short poll in the Discord shortly before, and it seems like folks are most interested in seeing some of the ways to fight this new club boss. So here we go. This is the third club boss, as you know we have been hammering home for close to a week now. Groribas. I think the difficulty and perhaps the somewhat more easy part of this guy is that he doesn't really kill whoever's on the back four or on the back line. At the same time, what makes him so difficult is obviously he does so much damage, right, against the guys on the front row. I think that's actually what you see again for the next guy, because I think he pretty much can one-shot kill most of the characters with his ultimate, no matter how much BP you have. So the strat we're going to introduce today actually will probably continue to work for the next club boss, but it only gets more and more difficult from here. But just to quickly show, as you can see and probably have experienced these few days, all chests, even the lowest tier, are now upgraded to purple. I don't think that really means a guarantee, because I haven't been able to pull literally a single purple gear from these chests for 2 or 3 days straight. So this is probably, again, a probability thing. But climbing up the tier list is always gonna help you get more gear, and especially for the next guy, eventually we'll be able to hit orange, hopefully someday. But that's a long way ahead. Focusing back on this guy, I think the difficulty about him, as we stated earlier, is he really does so much damage to the front line. So the lineup we're gonna really try to recommend today is, again, the essence of any club boss fights, is to stay until the 10th round as much as possible, right? And keep as many members of the team alive as possible, especially the guys doing the most attack. Like with the previous two tutorials, this is not the only way to be able to fight this boss. In fact, I don't think I got my high score from using this lineup specifically, just because once you have team that have enough HP that they can tank 4 to 5 rounds, or maybe a little less than that ultimate, that probably will actually do you the most good, right? Because you are allowing more people to attack each turn. What we're introducing today is really, I think it would probably work for most people, is that if you're like me earlier, getting killed within 4 to 5 rounds, the full team, then how do you survive to that 6th, 7th, or even 8th round, right? And not to mention 10, with as many of your team members alive to do more damage. So this is what I would recommend. I think I recommended by someone else from Discord earlier, which is use Dr. Genius using his core, because his core and as advanced effect has the ability to spawn clones, right? So assuming the boss can one-shot someone or close to one-shot someone, each clone spawned in the front row gives the guys on the back another round to do damage, right? And then with Beast King and My Mass, when they're really trained up, you are ready to go. On the other hand, we cannot only rely on the clone abilities, right? The core idea is trying to make the front row as tanky as possible and efficiently, right, as you can. So a couple things to note here. From a champion selection standpoint, we will want to put our tankiest guy, right, in the bottom right. So ideally, someone who can heal themselves, like Kabuto, someone who can provide a ton of shields, right, to those in his row or to his own. So Deep Ski King, or in this, Tank Top Master. And also, just put the tankiest guy up there, right? It could be Super Alloy Dark Shine as well. Just so that, because he will be the guy that survives the most turns in the front row. Because the attack logic, as we kind of use fighting, I believe is the second club boss, is that they will fight, or the boss will target the middle guy always first. And then once that is down, they will in turn transition to attacking the guy on the top, right? So in this case, Kabuto really wouldn't be directly attacked. I mean, he will still be involved by the ultimate, but he wouldn't be the main target of attack until Dr. Genius, Mosquito Girl, and their clones are all defeated, right? So this guy can survive the most. From a champ selection standpoint, I only put Mosquito Girl here because, one, his passives allow us to heal someone without using energy, and using Dr. Genius core, whenever you heal, you recover energy, right? Which is crucial in a boss fight. And second of all, she is Esper, and it just happens that, usually they don't do too good of a damage, but, they're necessary for filling the team sheet. So in this case, you could put Vaccine Man, Sky King, anyone essentially up there, if you don't have Mosquito Girl. I will introduce a little bit of variation if you don't have Dr. Genius later either, with the core concept still being to be able to tank more turns. But on the attack side, as we've done many times before, the majority of the damage will be done by Beast King and a Mind Mask. And I put Golden Ball here, and who is to someone to apply special effects, right? Which in this case is Shatter. So Sonic works just as well. If you have Atomic Samurai, and if he's really much more trained up than Golden Ball, sure. But then because his ultimate doesn't guarantee Shatter, I would prefer having Golden Ball in this case. And Sonic is actually somewhat of a better pick because his base attack is apply Shatter without much needing to be done with it, right? So this is my team composition, positions that can be switched out, obviously including if you don't have a Mind Mask, if you don't have Beast King. You probably will have Beast King, but there are plenty of people who don't have a Mind Mask or don't have them trained up much. Just use your best attacker guys instead, right? Subterranean King, if that's your case, and anyone else who does the most damage and you want them to survive the most rounds. On the front, we talked about having the tankiest guy up here. If you don't have Dr. Genius, right, I think him really is just there to survive a couple rounds. So even his 2-star, I would much prefer him over someone more trained up just for that core effect. But in the case that you don't, right? So with the core concept of being able to tank more damage, you just want to put someone with unyielding here, right? So at the very least, right, they'll be able to tank 2 rounds of damage. So ideally, someone like Dark Shine or Mugen Knight. Let's see if we can find him. Maybe not. Yep, right here. You could put him here. So an alternative version of this lineup could be something like this, right? If you don't have a Mai, but you have Child Emperor, you have Emperor apply Berserk to Beast King Golden Ball, and it works just as well. From a core standpoint, in this case, if you don't have Dr. Genius, right, use the next best core instead. I think in this case, I do prefer Child's Emperor's core over Mosquito Girl, so I'm going to use that. But again, if you have Dr. Genius, use Dr. Genius. If not, use your next best core. It could be Genos. I think he's someone you guarantee to have, and at least he'll be able to apply Berserk once someone is burned, so recover some more energy. But in this case, you just really want to have someone who could both do damage, recover energy, and then hopefully apply some special effects. So definitely that will be the next best case scenario. In this case, we're fortunate to have most of these key pieces. So we're going to go back to some of the more ideal, quote unquote, lineup. Again, this would be the one that sort of can guarantee you survive more turns for the background to do more damage. And if you have a better team and you have a much better trained team to fully tank the 10 rounds, which I cannot fully do yet, but getting closer and closer to, as I stated earlier, that would be the more superior strat to have more people attack. But a little bit on the gear and perhaps some key stats, right? So as you can see here, my Dr. Genius is probably a little bit more leveled up than most, just because it's very useful in PvE. But the key stat you really want to look out for him or whoever you put in the middle of the front row is their HP, right? So you want them to be a minimum like 12, I would say at 120k, right? Because the boss does approximately, I think a little bit above 100k, maybe 110k per round, either from base attack or from the ultimate on each character. So at the very least, right, you want to have them tank for 1+ rounds, right? So they don't waste the clone so easily. So the clone can get to be spawned at least after the main guy tanks a little bit more damage. The same thing goes for the other two that share the front row. I would assume whoever you put the sort of at this spot to be the tankiest guy definitely have the most HP, but ideally have someone up there also can tank more than one run at attack, so they could also delay the spawn of clone for one more round, which in turn provides Carbudo, which in turn protects the back round. In terms of gear, remember Mosquito Girl was one on the front row. In this case, she does have more than 120k or something like that. So, and also because her passive is based on attack, that's why I opted for mostly attack gear here. But go for HP if you're lacking those first. In Dr. Genius part, I go for complete HP, basically making him as tanky as I could be, and the same goes for Kabuto. For Golden Ball, Amai Mask, and Beast King, they're supposed to be more protected in this lineup, so just give them your best attack gear, following the speed we mentioned earlier, right? So just to recap, you would want to, Amai Mask, you always have the energy, right, to do an ultimate each turn, and then for Beast King to be able to follow up 3 times, right? So in this case, Mosquito attacks, Golden Ball attacks, Shadow is applied, Amai Mask can then go, so Amai Mask, Genius, and Kabuto, that's 3 follow-ups for these kings to do. So that's one of the many speed lineups you can set up to do. All right, so I think I'm gonna pause right here, and then we're gonna see you again once the actual fight begins.